All right, let's get started. Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending today's webinar. I'm here with IRX CEO Darryl Davies. So he'll be joining us today. Thank you very much for your time, Darryl. Just a really quick overview of what's going to happen. I'll introduce Darryl. He'll share his screen with a presentation. He'll talk about the company and go through that. If anyone of the attendees has any questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A function down below. And essentially what will happen once the presentation's done, I'll ask a couple of questions on my end, and then we'll go through any questions that the participants may have. So yeah, over to you, Darryl.
Thank you, Sebastian. I'll just share my screen now.
Sweet.
Right, you should be able to see that. Okay, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Darryl Davies of InhaleRx, an Australian biotech company on the forefront of developing innovative inhaled therapeutics to address unmet clinical needs globally. We currently have two drug device assets under development, strategically targeting indications that both represent a large total addressable market and have limited, or in some cases, no safe, convenient, and/or effective treatment options. The overarching goal for us is to achieve a new drug approval with the US Food and Drug Administration, utilizing cost-effective regulatory pathways. And the devices that we're using are commonly known as pressurized metered dose inhalers, otherwise known as MDIs, that provide rapid delivery of precision dosing. Today, I'm excited for the opportunity to demonstrate our progress and future plans as a company, developing innovative inhaled therapeutics to address these unmet medical needs in pain management and mental health treatment. So for the purposes of time today, I won't be going into details about each member of the team. Instead, I'll provide an overview of the skills mix. If you would like to dive into further details on anybody within our team, I encourage you to do so via LinkedIn. Our leadership team provides a wealth of experience across various domains, including but not limited to healthcare commercialization with a track record of executing exit strategies, end-to-end M&A facilitation, patient-centric care, drug development, FDA regulatory affairs, pharmaceutical supply chain management, and all members of the team have extensive board experience, including ASX, NZX, and NASDAQ. Despite being a small team, this diverse experience positions us very well to navigate the complexities associated with drug development to bring our innovative therapeutics to market faster. So we're focusing our attention and resources entirely on the operational execution of our clinical development plans, which is broadly broken down into two divisions. The regulatory side of things, which defines our pathway to approval in consultation with the FDA, and clinical trials that are performed in Australia, which are essentially designed to demonstrate safety and efficacy of the assets we have under development. As the company name suggests, our niche is that of inhaled therapeutic development. I will cover the specific reasons for this in more detail shortly. The broad areas that we're targeting treatment development is across pain and mental health management. By prioritizing these areas, we aim to deliver effective and efficient therapies to meet critical patient needs. So I think as a team, we're sort of committed to pursuing the pathway of least resistance without compromising on quality, of course, whilst focusing on speed to market. This approach allows us to remain nimble, and we can adapt quickly to new developments in the field and opportunities to pivot to pursue better outcomes for the company and our shareholders. So I'll just want to take a moment to sort of dive into why are we targeting inhaled therapies, right? So it offers significant advantages over other forms of drug delivery. They provide a fast onset of action, high bioavailability, and ease of use, making them suitable for treating acute symptoms. Unlike oral medications, inhaled therapies are not impacted by first-pass metabolism, allowing for more efficient and rapid relief. In some circumstances, offset can be just as important as onset. In practical terms, what this really means is nobody wants to feel out of it from their medication long after their symptoms have actually subsided. So specific to the MDI device, it is important to highlight that there is no combustion that can often be associated with the delivery of cannabinoids. Notwithstanding, it's very discreet and is often seen in the community used to manage asthma, therefore eliminating any potential stigma or embarrassment to take medication in public. I can share a real-world example here of a veterinarian who accessed a drug-device combination product via our network when we were gaining insights about devices currently available to the Australian market. This patient was diagnosed with panic disorder, and she'd actually used this device after work in a crowded venue whilst on a social event with her colleagues, right? But one of her colleagues detected the smell of the drug device she was using, went on to basically call her out in front of her colleagues and co-workers for using a cannabis vape. They had no knowledge of her medical diagnosis, and it's safe to say she felt embarrassed and put off ever using this device in future as a result of this experience. So let me quickly explain how our inhaled drug technology works, right? So when a drug is inhaled, it is rapidly absorbed through the lungs and reaches peak blood levels within minutes. This quick absorption results in a fast onset of action, providing prompt relief for patients. Conversely, if we look at sublingual, that can take 10 to 40 minutes and last somewhere between 3 to 10 hours. With oral, it takes even longer for onset, being 1 to 3 hours, and typically lasts somewhere between 6 to 20 hours. Inhalation is attractive, given the rapid absorption being somewhere between 1 and 5 minutes. The transient effect, meaning, it's that spike that you see here on the chart on the right-hand side. The onset and offset is between 1.5 to 3 hours. And the overall efficiency when compared to alternative drug delivery options. So now I'll turn my attention to explain why we're targeting pain, right? The opioid crisis is a significant public health issue, with the FDA implementing strict risk mitigation strategies for prescribing rapid-acting fentanyl products. The adverse effects, abuse potential, and marginal clinical benefits of opioids necessitate the development of alternative therapies. Our focus on non-opioid inhalation therapeutics aims to address this critical need. So IRX 211 is being developed as a prescription-only medication to treat breakthrough cancer pain. Research suggests that around 50% of cancer pain, of patients that experience cancer pain will experience breakthrough cancer pain. For those who do suffer, they tend to experience an average of 2 episodes per day, with a mean intensity score of 7.5 on a scale of 10. It's essentially characterized as a transient flare of pain occurring in opioid-tolerant patients experiencing persistent pain, otherwise controlled with around-the-clock maintenance opioid therapy. We are investing resources into our clinical trial program to essentially demonstrate safety and efficacy. We have already completed a phase 1 trial for IRX 211 across 3 cohorts at a clinical trial site in Melbourne, and I'm delighted to report that there were no serious adverse events and the drug absorption efficiency exceeded our expectations. We are now focused on the phase 2, which will be followed by a phase 3 multinational trial. Achieving a regulatory approval will enable us to make marketing claims and access government reimbursements, positioning us strongly in the market. Also, achieving an approval with the FDA first will allow us a much more straightforward approval to other jurisdictions, such as the EMA in Europe or the TGA in Australia. So the commercial potential for IRX 211 is significant, with approximately 1.8 million patients in the US alone suffering specifically with breakthrough cancer pain. The estimated total addressable market is expected to reach $93.19 billion in the pain management sector by 2029. As I touched on previously, there is clearly a growing demand for non-opioid therapeutic options that achieve similar patient outcomes without a concerning side effect profile and/or overdose risk. Our regulatory pathway is well defined, further enhancing our commercial prospects. There's actually been 6 drugs approved by the FDA for breakthrough cancer pain historically. These approvals are all fentanyl-based and include a variety of delivery formats, such as nasal spray, sublingual tablets, and soluble films. Furthermore, if and when the company achieves a new drug approval, we can explore conducting an equivalent study, which is also known as a supplemental new drug approval, to leverage the clinical data produced from the first study to target additional pain indications that are similar in nature. So now I'll cover why we're strategically targeting mental health treatment as well. So according to recent data, it's estimated that 19.1% of US adults have an anxiety disorder where they've experienced symptoms in the past year, with a lifetime prevalence of over 31%. Women are more affected than men, with 23.4% of females and 14.3% of males experiencing anxiety disorders annually. Globally, the prevalence of anxiety disorders was estimated to be just over 4% of the population, and that was in 2019, affecting approximately 301 million people, right? And that's before we had a global pandemic, which triggered a significant increase in the prevalence, as sort of quoted here by the World Health Organization. So just to touch on the types of anxiety that are categorized, it's essentially broken down into 4 main categories. You have generalized anxiety disorder, social anxiety disorder, panic disorder, and specific phobias. According to recent data, approximately 2.7% of US adults have experienced panic disorder specifically in the past year, with a lifetime prevalence of about 4.7% worldwide. So the median age for onset of panic disorder is also very young, being 24 years, right? So with women being twice as likely to develop it. Given that patients are generally very young, it leaves a significant window in terms of years for patients to potentially require treatment. So addressing this crisis is a key focus for InhaleRx. So IRX 616A has been developed as a prescription-only medication specifically to treat panic disorder. Our clinical trials aim to demonstrate safety and efficacy. We have previously submitted a phase 2 ethics application, and we've received some feedback, specifically that they needed some phase 1 data generated to consider issuing an approval. The protocol and all the medical writing has been completed for this phase 1, and we are ready to submit to an ethics committee. Currently, there are no FDA-approved inhaled medications for panic disorder, positioning IRX 616A as a very unique solution. This was reinforced during the pre-IND meeting that we had with the FDA, who validated our plans. So the market here for anxiety and depression treatments is very substantial, with a total addressable market of 13.3 billion by 2027 and a compound growth rate of 2.6%. Existing treatments like SSRIs can come with side effects like drug interactions, impact on sleep, and impact on sexual desire and function. There is certainly an opportunity for our inhaled therapeutic, given that there are no approved FDA inhaled medications to treat panic disorder. Approved on-label medications such as SSRIs for medium to long-term management and benzodiazepines, which are generally used for short-term, given the risk of dependence, are common. There's also some off-label solutions, off-label meaning that they're commonly prescribed, but they're not specifically approved to treat panic disorder. But currently, none of the on or off-label medications that are approved by the FDA are delivered via inhalation or have rapid onset or offset characteristics as their primary mode of action. So, and the regulatory pathway here is pretty well defined. We're confident in our ability to be able to bring IRX 616A to market. So I appreciate there's a lot going on this slide, but essentially it's here to demonstrate where we are at in terms of the life cycle of drug development. Yep, as a company, we've completed all of the formulation work and the tech transfer. We have already completed a GMP manufacturing run to feed the phase 1 trial that was done in Melbourne for IRX 211. We've completed all the medical writing and protocol development, and we are HREC ready, ready to submit to an ethics committee for the phase 1 for 616A and the phase 2 for 211. Importantly, the management team understands the gaps that we need to fill for the phase 2 for 616A, given we've already received some feedback from ethics for that particular application. We also have a clearly defined regulatory strategy, and we've met with the FDA in what's called a pre-IND meeting across both of our clinical programs. The company has already submitted an investigational new drug, otherwise known as IND application for 616A. We do expect to get very detailed responses from them before the end of the month, which will highlight any of the gaps and, in other words, sort of unearth the unknowns. So I'll just touch on quickly what's referred to here as FDA 505(b)(2). Now, this pathway has significant benefits for the company, including reduced development costs and time. There's potential for innovation, competitive advantages, and flexibility in terms of drug development. By understanding and utilizing this pathway, there's an opportunity to efficiently bring new and improved therapies to market, ultimately benefiting patients with better treatment outcomes. Leveraging existing data via FDA 505(b)(2) pathway also helps reduce risk and cost and accelerates our time to approval, which could be anywhere between 3 to 5 years. As a small biotech, it will be anticipated that we would generally need to find a partner for the commercialization steps that would follow the clinical studies. And typically what we see in the industry is a commercialization partner or M&A activity starting to occur when a company has achieved positive phase 2 results and also has achieved an investigational new drug application and got that open with the FDA. However, a strategic partnership could well come much sooner in the timeline. So there's several compelling reasons to consider investing in InhaleRx as a company. We have significant M&A potential. The development of inhaled therapeutics is appealing to commercialization partners, both from big pharma and big tobacco. We have seen some M&A activity specifically in this space before, and you know, in terms of our register, you know, we're pretty proud to have a very loyal investor base and a very tightly held register. I think now represents a very attractive entry point for investors as well, given where the share price is today relative to what we have planned and our clinical development pipeline. Hopefully, as a result of my presentation today, you've been able to get a better understanding of the progress that's been made by the company, and more importantly, from an investment perspective, where we are relative to the life cycle of the drug development timeline. Our validated pathway with the FDA will position us well for the next stages of clinical development and beyond. Before I welcome any further questions, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank our existing loyal shareholder base for their ongoing support and to thank Sharewise for the opportunity to present today.
Thank you very much for that, Darryl. That was great, very insightful. I just have a couple of questions on my end, and whilst I do that, look, I invite everyone here. As I said, if you do have any questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A function, and I'm sure Darryl would love to, you know, give you some feedback on them. So I guess just to start off, obviously, I guess a question for prospective shareholders and current shareholders at the moment. when do you think the stock price is going to sort of recover? Because at the moment, yeah, I mean, it's sitting at 2 cents. What do you think is really going to drive the growth? And when are you sort of expecting to see a good recovery?
Yeah, good question. I mean, nobody has a crystal ball here, but I'll answer this as best as I can. So, you know, the drug development is generally, you know, quite slow. There's lots of activity that happens behind the scenes, but it's not something that is sort of, you know, lots of news flow that's getting put out there on a regular basis. As a company, I think we have elected to really share our significant milestones that we've achieved, right? And we'll continue to do so moving forward. I think to answer your question, where we will see potentially some significant changes is if we're in a position where we could secure a funding partner, for example, and somebody that could carry some of the clinical development expenditure and believe in the company and get involved at this stage. That will be inevitably a catalyst for moving forward. We did put in what I explained earlier briefly as an investigational new drug application with the FDA. This body of work is not to be underestimated. It's at least 6 months of preparation. It's a huge body of work. Now, while we didn't necessarily get it open within the 30-day window, what we will do is acquire some pretty good feedback from the FDA, some detailed feedback on what the gaps that we need to fill. So assuming the company can go through the steps of filling those gaps, and we haven't yet received that feedback, so we will know in the next week or so, and we can get that IND open, that will put us in a very good position, Sebastian, for our shareholders, and hopefully that's recognized by the markets. Equally, I did mention that we have now done all of the medical writing work and we're ready to submit to ethics. If we can get an ethics approval for the phase 2, that just demonstrates to the market that we have all of our ducks in a row and we're ready to commence our phase 2. So again, that could be a catalyst for some attention and some recovery in the share price.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. Very insightful. I've got a question here. How does the company plan to finance the phase 2 for 211 when the share price and market capital are at the current levels?
Yep. So good question. I think it's no secret to our existing shareholders that we are going to need to raise further capital. We're going to need to raise further capital in the coming months. We have, you know, been pursuing a number of funding options, one of which is with a potential funding partner that is now in quite a mature stage. So, you know, we'll continue to go through the motions there and see whether that eventuates. But that will position us very well. In the absence of anything like that going ahead, we would likely, you know, open up a fundraising round and potentially entertain a couple of different structures to ensure that our existing loyal base, shareholder base is not too diluted, such as a rights issue or something to offer that up first.
Okay, lovely. And are you looking to raise capital within the next 12 months, or what's the sort of time horizon you're looking at the moment?
Yeah, so we'll definitely need to raise capital in the next 12 months. I think, you know, as I said, if we can secure a funding partner, then, you know, that will be a great opportunity for us. And but even in addition to that, I think we would need to raise capital within the next, say, 3 to 6 months. That's really where the company's looking at. And during that time, hopefully we can, you know, address some of the points I mentioned earlier and see a bit of recovery in the share price and demonstrate a bit of momentum here. Brilliant.
All right, thanks for that. Look, obviously you've got an innovative product right now. I just wanted to know, I mean, are there any competitors at this stage? And if so, I mean, what competitive advantage does IRX have, you know, compared to those?
Yeah. Okay. So Yeah, from a sort of regulatory standpoint, once you get a new drug approval over the line with the FDA, then you get a 3-year data exclusivity window. There are some opportunities to extend that in consultation with the FDA, but you've essentially got 3 years to develop that further. I think from an IP perspective, we've sort of looked at, we've got an innovation patent that's already been approved. We've got a couple of provisional patents. We continue to work with patent attorneys to identify the opportunities that best suit the company's needs and our shareholders. In terms of competition, specifically targeting inhaled, our particular indication, so breakthrough cancer pain for 211, right? There's no immediate competition that we're sort of up against in targeting breakthrough cancer pain that the company's aware of, right? In terms of an inhaled solution. Equally, we turn to some of the research that we've done on panic disorder, and for the reasons that I highlighted before, there is no inhaled approved drug for treating panic disorder. So, that serves a very good commercial opportunity for us as well.
Brilliant. All right, thank you for that. And look, obviously now you're in the period where you're going through that sort of clinical testing phase. Do you expect any problems to arise, or has there been any indication of anything that might go wrong? And if so, I mean, how are you proactively seeking to mitigate these sort of problems?
Yeah, okay, good question. So basically from the phase 1 that we already conducted, we did that across 3 cohorts, and we did it with the IRX 211 program in Melbourne. We didn't receive any serious adverse events, which is like to flag some of the potential safety issues with the device. So that was very reassuring and just sort of validated where we are at from a safety perspective. The objective with the phase 2 is to really, work with patients that specifically suffer from breakthrough cancer pain and hopefully demonstrate that this drug device solution is in fact effective at managing their symptoms as well. So we haven't discovered anything that is concerning, quite the opposite. I think our phase 1 was very reassuring. We landed on the specific dose targeted dose that we want to roll into the phase 2 with. There were no safety concerns, and I think we, from a drug efficiency standpoint, we were also very happy. I think it exceeded anyone's expectations, really. So yeah, if anything, we came away from the data that we do have very reassured, very confident, and looking forward to our phase 2s.
Brilliant. That's great to hear. That's very reassuring. And last but not least, I mean, can you discuss with the market today if you're in discussion with companies regarding M&A? I know you briefly touched on it in the last slide there, but are you in active discussion with any companies regarding M&A opportunities or sale of distribution at the moment?
No active discussions specifically regarding M&A opportunities. We have had discussions in the past, and we expect to be able to circle back on those discussions, but I can confirm there's nothing active right now.
Okay, thank you. And just one from the floor as well. Considering cancer patients are in extreme pain, how can synthetic THC compete with synthetic opioids to treat pain?
Yeah, so I think there's no question that opioids are very effective at pain management, right? They're used globally. There's a number of approved products. They are safe. They're very effective. But also, you've got to draw on the dark side of opioid use and the risk of abuse, the risk of accidental overdose, the increase of deaths that has specifically derived from the introduction of synthetic opioids is huge, and it continues to be a growing problem globally, specifically in North America. So when you measure that up against synthetic THC, we already know that a lot of people that are suffering with pain use cannabis, whether it be, via prescription or whether it be sort of, sourced from the black market. I think that nobody would dispute that. What's quite interesting is seeing some of the data coming through from how many people are using it and finding it effective at managing their pain as a prescription medicine. And in Australia, as you know, we've had a medical market for that for a number of years now. So I think the effect may well be similar in terms of managing pain, and obviously we've got to go through the motions to support that statement. But the side effect profile is there's not the same risks that are associated with THC when measured up against say fentanyl. So that's where the opportunity sits for us. We know that a number of fentanyl-based products have been discontinued. We know there's heavy scrutiny from the FDA. We know there's pressure to provide non-opioid solutions that address the same need, because the need is certainly there from the patient perspective. And having a THC-based product could well demonstrate that it's effective at managing pain, and there's nowhere near the same risks that are associated.
Brilliant. All right, thank you for that, Darryl. I think that's going to conclude us for today. Darryl, thank you very much for your time. That was very insightful and informative. I'm sure all current shareholders and prospective are very glad to hear that you're up to the clinical stage in your trials. And it's just a waiting game now, I think. Do you have anything else that you'd like to finish off with?
No, thank you for your time today and for the opportunity. Thanks to everybody that has joined this webinar, and thanks again to our loyal shareholder base.
Thank you very much. All right. Thank you, everybody, for attending. If you want to rewatch this webinar, it will be posted on YouTube. It's recorded. And thank you. Have a wonderful afternoon. Cheers, Darryl.
Thank you. Goodbye.